everybody, and welcome to the Robinhood Capitalists. I'm your host, DJ Flores. With me, my coach and yours, Coach Stacey B. Coach, man, what a week! Jacqueline being on was such a treat. Hopefully, you all got to experience it. If you didn't, we'll share that in the links. Please follow and catch that episode. It is. I can't wait to break it down. But coach, I can't glaze over what we talked about pre-show. So yesterday, for anybody who did or did not forget, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and so me and my family got to start a new thing. Me and Maggie actually took the kids to see a movie. We went to see Wonka, and let me tell you, Coach. So I'm always anybody who's out there who is a Willy Wonka fan, like please go see this movie. It honestly is like we were talking because of kind of the realness of real world corporate America, government, those kind of things that it kind of pulls into the storyline of Willy Wonka, of Wonka and his story. Was like actually it was funny. Even Maggie, when we're leaving, Maggie says, "You're Wonka." I said, "What? Don't like, don't call me that." But I get where she was saying with it because in the end, and it's kind of crazy that we even went and seen that movie, Coach, because just like Jacqueline talked a lot about on Tuesday was dreaming, and that's Willy Wonka was about dreaming. Like, don't stop dreaming. Like his twist to how he became so big was he mixed magic with his candy and kind of painted a story. But I think even for marketers out there, there's some good little nuggets that you'll catch if you're really intentional enough to the messaging. The way he first kind of drew people in reminded me of a lot of the stories that you guys talked about with Liberty Tax and kind of again a lot of our guerrilla marketing kind of concepts that we talked about here on the show. What the small guys got to do, kind of the
Got to
Gol-
be different.
the Davids going against the Goliaths,
Yeah.
and that was kind of what he had to do. But it was man, coach, you got to check it out. I'm telling you, I did
But
not think.
the good news is she called you Willy Wonka and not an Oompa Loompa or anything, so that there's always that.
There's even it's funny. So there's not many Oompa Loompas in there, but there is the one key one who actually. It's funny how they even tie that story together. So the key one is stealing chocolate from Willie. And so they make a deal, kind of a secret deal, kind of like the government or well, the this world did to Willie. And there was a secret contract that he didn't know he was signing, but was stuck to. And literally it was amazing. It was honestly I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. So yeah, it was a treat. And I know you had a kind of new tradition. I heard mama's not doing too well.
Yeah, so my new tradition isn't nearly as fun. So yeah, Jennifer woke up not feeling well yesterday and actually pretty sick. So my Valentine's Day new tradition was sleeping over here on this sofa bed here in my office.
Oh no, coach. Well, any guy who forgot yesterday, they probably were doing that tradition with you. But I do want to get back into Jacqueline. Coach, what? Obviously, want to start the intro, want to get into the show, but what initial thoughts? What were your thoughts of her?
Well, it was kinda like as she was telling her story, and you started this with it was a great show, go back and watch it. My dad said it's the best one yet, but he says that for every show, so but he felt like he really meant this one, it was the best one yet. But every time she was digging deeper into the story, it was kinda like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what?" Because she's gone through so many things, and you're like, "Wait a minute, did I hear that right?" And looking at where she came from to where she is, what an incredible journey! Just amazing.
Uh, I, and we're gonna go there because yeah, I feel the same, coach. Like just everything, guys. If you feel like you're in a rut, you feel like you're stuck, you feel like you're not gonna be break free from where you're at right now. Like her story. everything she was able to overcome and come through, and even own the realness and the harshness of some of the things that you can still tell the pain is there, the strength of the kind of the severity of it that we have to go through, it is there. And she shared it, and it was amazing. So yeah,
Yeah,
I can't wait to get
it's
in.
one of those stories where you think, okay, I've got some obstacles, but I didn't have that, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. And to that, let's get this started. I can't wait to break it down. Again, for all you who didn't check it out, this is who we're talking about, Jacqueline Wales. Man, you guys, if you're dealing with something that feels like it has you stuck, you're stuck in the fear mode. Jacqueline Wells is who we're talking about. Can't wait to get into this. Coach, let's get going.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
All right, again, everybody, welcome to the Robinhood Capitalist. Like our intro says, you got one heartbeat. If you woke up today, there's a reason. Don't stop till you make it beautiful. Uh, We all have that opportunity, and we all have greatness. Uh, Coach, going. I'm just gonna go right to from Cast Magic, y'all. Again, we like to shout out Cast Magic. I'm gonna throw our link up there. It really is magic. It really does help. So if you are doing a podcast, thinking of doing a podcast, you're a speaker, you just like to research and want to kind of break down things a little bit faster, use Cast Magic. It really can kind of help cliff note things for you a little bit faster. But so the key takeaways, Coach, from Tuesday were embrace curiosity, confront your fears, unlocking self awareness. I want to start. So we'll just start with the first one. Embrace curiosity. So it says both, Coach. Uh, so highlight the significance of maintaining a childlike curiosity and the impact societal norms can have on stifling one's questioning nature. Nurture your innate desire to learn, explore, and see where it can lead you. I mean, Jacqueline's story is to leave at 16 because she had that. Again, the way she explained her needing to leave, wanting to leave, or having to leave at 16 was kind of almost that same feeling that I try to tell people of that feeling on Sundays and Mondays. Like she explained it to that depth of like I need to do something else. But like the journey it took her, holy cow.
Right, right, and coming from a place of abuse and lots of different things, lots of different hardships. When if you listen to the TED Talk and the way she was describing and talking through her books, and even though it's a novel, it really was kind of a autobiographical novel. You can kind of see that it was a really, really, really bad place.
Mhm.
But what kind of spurred the curiosity? You played the clip from Jim Rohn, and he talked about how important it is to not let that childhood curiosity go. And what is it that kids do that they'll ask and they're not afraid to ask. And she said that our education system and the adults around us just kind of beat that whole curiosity out of us, and that it is stifling. That was a good word that Cast Magic brought up. It is stifling. It'll stifle our ability to vision a better future for ourselves, and it keeps you stuck where you are because you just feel like, well, there can't be anything better, because it's just that curiosity has been stifled. And so part of what we do as coaches is try to help people find that curiosity. We ask probing questions, try to make you think about things in a way that you never thought about it, or maybe haven't thought about it in a very long time, and just kind of help you see that, hey, there is something more. I just need to start my search.
I like that you brought up coaches too, because she talked a little bit about that, but she even mentioned, and I think that's what hearing her story and even just again relating certain things to mine, and I'm sure anybody who hears her story can relate in certain ways. We all can. Um, we all can in certain ways, but like her story and the curiosity, it's it, it's amazing because of the fact of her journey and starting even at 16 when she said, I mean, she clearly had the understanding of like, okay, this is what I need to do. So she was clearly above her time. Like she said, I need to find a job and then I need to find a bed. Like she understood the necessities of life, but like literally to kind of take that on and think of that journey and then just think of the simple maybe roads that we have and we feel like we're stuck with the decisions we're making. I mean, this is at 16. You're trying to think of like, where am I staying? And like she said, she had some maybe strange guy. She didn't have any stories to share about that, but that she didn't really know, but she had to rely on those people, and that's what I think was powerful is, and if we can all trace back, and that's what I kind of did, like whether it seemed like a mentor, seemed like a coach, seemed like something, there's always, there just always seems to be the right a person there, somebody there to help you get through those times. Like if you trace back, like you'll always wonder, like, and in those moments it feels like it's impossible, how are you getting past this, but then you can always kind of, if you go back, like, it was this, it was that
Mm.
person, it was this thing, and there's always just kind of that coach, that person to help you get out of your way.
When
um
she was telling the story of the person that opened her eyes to the fact that, hey, you really are bright, you really are smart.
yes.
We talk a lot about Les Brown and we quote him a lot, but I kind of saw the parallel that there was somebody in his life that said, no, you don't let the opinions of others define who you are and what you'll become. And she had that same moment, and so that parallel to me was interesting because we talk about Les Brown a lot,
I,
and so that parallel was interesting to me.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Coach, because I wanted to bring it up on this show. So when she told that story, it was amazing because it was literally like I was listening to a story from Trevor Moawad's book. It takes what it takes. I talk about that book all the time, but in that book, he gives examples to really share with people the power of your mindset and how your thoughts. And again, if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of fear, how those thoughts of fear can overtake you and kind of control everything. And he gives shares a story of a guy who dies who gets trapped in an ice box, a container car, for a railroad. The door slams. He thinks he's freezing to death. He's writing down, basically noting, and he ties that experience to Viktor Frankl's kind of under seeing when people are going to die, this guy's literally, it's getting colder, and he's talking himself to death on as he's writing this on the wall of this ice box. They tested it and it actually failed. It never got below 50, so he actually should have never died from freezing, but because he told himself that it was getting colder and talked himself right down, that he died. And I truly believe we have that power. We have that power more than we want to even admit that. But then another story that he shares in that same line to really drive that is he shares a story of a kid who was bad in school his whole life, did terrible his whole life in school, took the SAT, got his score back, scored almost a perfect, or it was a perfect. And his mom's like, did you cheat? Like, what? Who? Like, what? And he's like, is that good? Like, didn't know. Because he got that perfect score, his mindset changed. He started sitting in the front of the class, thought was a better student than he thought previous. Obviously, he tried more, ended up becoming a doctor, doing all of these things, to a few years later get a letter from the SAT. I guess every year they make a mistake and send scores to the wrong people sometimes. It's what happens in there. his score was actually like a 9 something. So that was his real score. But because he thought he got a perfect score, it changed his whole trajectory. And that was her. And that was like you said, and Les Brown talks about it with his teacher. I think Mr. Washington or something. But Les Brown said he was the the LD, or whatever they call them, the dumb
The
twin,
dumb twin.
the
Yeah.
dumb twin.
I know you're not supposed to use the R word anymore, but that's the word that came up when he tells
Yeah,
his own story.
yeah, yeah, and it's so powerful, and her sharing that
And there's you
it
know there's a
triggered
lot
in
of other
me.
there's a lot of other studies that have been done too with teachers getting the kids and being told that, hey, you're getting the best of these kids, and what they really got were average kids that became great because the teacher saw something in them that they gave them the time, and they put more effort into them because they thought there was something special there. And
Mm,
so even as a mentor, as a teacher, our mindset can affect what we pour into the lives of others in front of us based on our perception of who they are and what they're bringing.
great point there. Yeah, and that's so true. It's
Hey,
so
but
true.
you're so right about the how powerful we really are with this idea of what our brains can do. Maybe one day we should get into a study on biology of belief and some of these other books and things that we like on this topic. But
I
I
think we're
think
gonna have to.
I think we'd all be very disappointed in ourselves if we knew what we actually could do and compare that with what we actually do.
Mm. Right? Yeah, it's well, I mean, we'll go right to it. The next key takeaway was confronting your fears. And so it says Jacqueline Wales sheds light on the nature of fear and underlines the importance of courage and self-trust when faced with life's challenges. Transform your fear into a tool for growth by learning to trust your instincts, tackle your worries head on. I think it. So this is the first time I have a little tiff with cast magic, but I think it's the whole idea of fear to begin with. Like I said on the show on Tuesday to her, I think there's. I think the moment you face enough challenges, you force yourself to face that enough. It does become a power. It becomes a tool. I heard a younger kid on Gary Vee, one of Gary Vee's podcasts, say that, and it is very true. When you face it enough, it's almost like she says, you become fearless. But the fearless is not that you don't know that there's bad things. You just know that you can overcome it no matter what happens. Like
Yeah, and
like
and that
you
was
just
that was
get
her
to a point that
definition. That fearless doesn't mean absence of fear. It means stepping out in fear and still doing the thing so that you can become a person that is fearless.
yeah, yeah, and there's so much power to that, Coach. I mean, I guess let's break it down to your who you're mostly working with and through your experience of coaching. I mean, how much is fear a driver that holds new business owners or startups or somebody stepping into a new world like business ownership? How much does that
It,
do you feel it plays
it,
a
it's
factor
it,
in what?
it's everywhere. And it's not just me looking out. It's me looking in too. But fears uh, keep us from doing the video marketing that we should be doing. Fears keep us from going out and networking the way we should be networking. Fears keep us from picking up the phone and making the calls, the marketing calls, and following up on leads. It causes procrastination, all these things that show up, and it just holds us and keeps us from doing the things that we need to do. And so it's everywhere, man. It's not just at the beginning of startup. It'll follow you right along through. And one of the, you got to meet David in our first show. One of the things I admire the most about him is he's fearless by her definition. And we talk a lot, so I know that inside he has the same butterflies that I do, but yet he still just pushes forward and does the thing. And that's why he's able to accomplish the things he's able to accomplish. But when you start looking at the business owners that I've worked with all through the years, there is a trait of stepping out in fear that separates the top from everyone else.
Do you think now? I mean, there is really only again. I think Lewis Howson. I've said this a few times. Lewis Howson. I think Tony Robbins talked about it quite a bit, but about the different forms of fear. So fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, and fear of judgment. What of those four? What do you think? There's one that is heavy. I guess lies heavier on most than the others.
I think it's a combination of fear of failure and the fear of that judgment from others. What is the world going to think if I let them know that I'm in trouble? And so you'll see franchisees that have a support system all around them with people that want to help them, people who are there solely, their sole purpose in life is to help them, but they won't ask for the help because of that fear of just showing up and not looking the way they feel like they're supposed to look. So they have this picture of how things are supposed to be, and when it looks a little bit different from that, that fear just kicks in and overrides. And by the time they get to the point where they have to ask for help, it might be too late. And it's
Mm.
that fear of failure and judgment that we all have. There's a book called Positive Intelligence, and it's about it's PQ instead of IQ or EQ. It's PQ,
Mm.
and basically what it says is that our brains have a couple of different parts to it, and part of it is a saboteur brain, and there are 10 saboteurs, but the biggest one, the one that we all have, is that inner judge. And that's where those fears of failure come up, because we're constantly judging ourselves. And in a world of social media that is all designed to give you comparison with everything else, it's even worse. And so, it used to be you compare yourself to the Joneses, where they lived across the street. You saw them sometime. Now they're everywhere. And it's not just the Joneses, it's everywhere throughout the world that you're comparing yourself against. So you can have the greatest day, the greatest vacation you've ever had, and you come back and immediately you see somebody else that did something better. And you're judging yourself. All right. And so this whole what PQ does is it helps you get into that part of your brain that's the sage part of your brain that calms those saboteurs down and just puts you in a better state and keeps you thinking in a better place. A place that is a positive, that is possibility oriented, not problem oriented, a place that is solution oriented, not again problem oriented, a place that is abundance, not scarcity. And but it takes work, because you have to get yourself and engage that part of the brain to override it. But it comes right back to that judge, and that judge is based around fears of failure and judgment from others.
Mm. Now, now you nailed something that Jacqueline even talked about, and I think it's the most crucial thing, and kind of what I took from Trevor Moed's "It Takes What It Takes," and it's about being very intentional with who you surround yourself with and the information or yeah, I guess information or words you're surrounding yourself with. Again, I'm very intentional with even music because of what he said. But I think and Jacqueline talked about that with her mentor, with the student, the counselor. I think was the one who opened her up, like we were talking about. Um, I don't think enough people hold value to being very strategic with those people and always having cheerleaders around them. Like you need there again another amazing song from Andy Grammer, but it's called Remind You, and you always need somebody there to remind you when you forget the greatness you have, and that's why that core of having those people around you are so crucial. And even in Wonka, Wonka had this girl who she tried to help him not sign the paperwork. He was very free, willy nilly. Very, it's funny. So he starts the movie. You'll enjoy this, and it'll probably make more sense to you now why Maggie called me Wonka. But so he's singing in the beginning of the movie about how he has 12 silver shillings or whatever, and he just is frivolously giving them away to, oh, you broke this rule, you need to give us three. Oh, can I have one? Sure, here, take as many as you need. And so he's just giving them away, and then all of a sudden he has nothing. Very fast, and so he's like, oh my goodness. But so how he ends up trapped is he doesn't pay attention to the fine print of the contract. Well, his little I forget, and what was her name? Noodle was her name in the movie, but she tried to tell him read the fine print and tried to help him from the beginning. And I think we again that's those those secret mentors, those people that will pop up when you need them. They're there. Like, if you believe that and just even look for that, as if you're playing a game, and there's just this avatar that's randomly there that doesn't make sense. He probably has a chat bubble over his head. Go talk to him. He's gonna talk you out of whatever next step you might be taking that's the wrong one. And literally that was Noodle in the movie was, and then at a point Willie wanted to give up. The guy, the big chocolatiers and the police, the government, were made it just stealing all of his stuff constantly. And he said, "That's it. Like, I'm done." And she said, "You can't. Like, this is." And so she was that one. And that's we need those people. We always need those people. If you feel like you're constantly getting stuck there, you're laughing at my association, are you?
No, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking any movie that I can somewhat portray the government as being corrupt, inept, and and a bad thing, I'm all for. So
Listen, check
right
this
here, right
one.
here in tax season, it's got my hackles up about the government.
Check this one out, y'all, because let me tell you, there is some whoever wrote this, kudos to you. There's definitely some underlying tones of exactly what's going on today.
So when you started that, you hit on a couple of keys from John Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, which is it's a 15 laws that will help you on a plan for personal and professional growth. But it starts out with a law called the law of intentionality, and it's all about just being more intentional in everything that we do. Because at the end of the day, success it's not an event, it's not a one time thing. It's a combination of small steps, smart decisions, smart choices, smart actions taken seamlessly or seemingly meaningless things just done consistently over time, and that leads to great achievement at the end. But we have to be very intentional about what we're doing. And you mentioned who we're surrounding ourselves with. That can go back to the law of environment, which is another one of the laws from the book. But you have to put yourself in an environment that kind of blocks out all the negative, because the world's going to beat you down. And you've got to be in a state of awareness, which I know we're going to come to, but you've got to be in a state of awareness that you can recognize the uh, the angels from the demons that are in our lives, and giving us the advice. You want to make sure you recognize the one that, okay, this is a strong inner circle, because we do become the average of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time, and we have to be intentional about who that is. And so we have to be intentional about the music we're listening to, the movies we're watching, the games we're playing, the people we're surrounding ourselves with, the thoughts that we're allowing to go on in our own minds, because that's we are the most important person we talk to every single day. And so we have to be very intentional and make sure that we keep ourselves in an environment that's going to be conducive to growth and not pulling us away from becoming the person that we want to become.
And you mentioned self-awareness, and we're going to go there here shortly, because I think that really is the key to it all, to me at least. But uh, you mentioned about not the world beating you down. I think, and Jacqueline even mentioned on Tuesday about school, and we kind of briefly glazed over that. I know Rich Dad does a great job of explaining about failing. School is either pass or fail, and so that gets you right there to you're so afraid to fail, that it kind of just puts you in this constant fear of failure. But I, I think I think it's even deeper than school, and I think we have family, friends that they're going to say things. They're around us. They might seem like they're against us, but it's just their opinion of the situation. It doesn't have to be ours. Um, and
And
so,
what makes it hard is a lot of times the people that are coming at you, they really do love, care for, and want the best for you, and that
yeah,
makes it even more difficult.
yeah,
And so one entrepreneur that I met, this was not someone that I worked with, but just someone I met at an event. But she was telling her story, and she had been a very successful executive and decided to start her own business. And she was letting her parents know what the decision was, and she was telling the story of how they reacted. And the way she told it, she goes, "Well, my dad was bad, but my mom was worse." And the actual words that her own mother used were, "When you fail, don't come back to me because I already told you so." And so that was what she was up against when she's trying to make this decision. Do I stay in this job that's got me trapped, the rat race and all that sort of thing, or do I follow my dream? And so this is someone who truly loves, cares for, and wants the best for her daughter, that could have derailed what has turned out to be a wonderful business and a wonderful life. And so once it kind of came full circle, I was like, well, what do they think about you now? She goes, oh, they came around.
Well, and so I'm glad you shared that, because I think that's, in the end, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think that they're intentionally trying to derail, or her parents tried to derail. They're trying to protect you, but so you have to pull yourself back from that and say, okay, are they protecting me because they just don't see it themselves, or and just again, I think life can be simplified. I don't think it's ever simple, but it can be simplified. Every single aspect of it. Like, have you tried this? Yes or no? Like, if you haven't, then you have no clue. If you have, then you have some clue. And like, now we can really just trace through that. And so, like, if they haven't tried anything, start there. If they've only always been an employee and they're telling you not to start a business, you know, take it as they're trying to protect you, and they love you, but they have no clue what they're talking about. And it's your journey.
Well, and
And
it's your dream, because that following the other path she would have been following someone else's dream, and that rarely works out well. Uh,
mhm,
Especially, you may look good on the outside, but on the inside, there's that turmoil that just keeps you from finding the peace and happiness you're looking for.
that's that Sunday night. You're always sick. Monday, you don't want to go there. Uh,
You
it's
might be
gonna.
following somebody else's dream.
You're all. You always are. I promise. I promise. If you feel that way, you are. Once you find what yours is, nothing's gonna stop you. Um, Last, unlocking self-awareness. And this is what I think the game of life is all about. It really is the game. Is who am I? Who are you? Like she said. And so the discussion put a spotlight on self-awareness and its rarity, with insights on how con, uh, how confronting fears can lead to significant personal development. Examine how your beliefs serve you and harness the power of self-awareness to elevate your life. And I think, Coach, I think you had touched on that, but she said, "Is this serving me? How is this serving me or not?" That's what we need to ask. I think once I started to, and again, if I could share this for anybody, and if this helps anybody, we talked a little bit about that age of 40, and she said 48 to 58 or something, or 38 to 48 was wisdom, or we talked about Napoleon Hill's kind of wisdom there, and it's
Some of us are late bloomers.
yeah, yeah, we might be. But it's that reflection back onto just owning it all is what it really comes down to. Just like, yes, I did all the good, I did all the bad, it was all me. Uh, what's next? And the faster you can get there, um, that journey becomes a little less painful. It's always going to be a hard journey, and I think that's why nobody wants to face it. But that's her number of the 15%. Again, when we talked on the show, we said it might be 5%. But let's just give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and it's 15%. It means 85% of the people we're around, we associate with, we see, 8.5 out of every 10 people you see is they have no clue of who they even are. So
Well,
to
I mean, just looking around the world, most people are just taking life as it comes. They're not being intentional with their choices. They're letting the world decide what's going to happen, and they're accepting the current circumstances being, it has to be this way, instead of understanding, no, I have a choice. I don't, it doesn't have to be this way. And so most people are just, they're not being intentional. They're just letting life come as it may. And what Maxwell says about this one, he says, you're going to grow either way, and you can either choose the direction or let the world choose the direction. And so it's a easy but difficult choice.
mm, yeah. Yeah, I agree, and that's back to, we can give the control to whoever, and at times in our life we do. I go to the movie Click for that. Click's a great kind of idea, or if you can just play with that idea in your own life, like there are certain times where we can say, yeah, I was definitely in autopilot. I was not. I don't remember how the heck did that even happen, because we were somewhere else, like and that happened, but we definitely weren't there and didn't give it our all. And we can really own that.
Yeah, those commercials where people drop the red flag and go back for the replay to see what really happened. I'm kind of I'm somewhat glad that we don't actually have that in real life.
God,
I
that would be
replay them. I replay them enough in my own mind. I don't need to see it on the
that
screen.
would be so terrible. But coach, I think you're on to exactly what. Besides unlocking your own self-awareness, once you can, and I think that's what keeps most people away from really the deep thinking that it takes, because that's where I go. I mean, guys, you want to not fear things? Like I worry about everything, but I'm literally playing it through in my head every time I'm meditating or finding my time alone. Now, finding my time alone was a lot harder when I didn't want to hear my own thoughts of myself. But once I owned all of that and was like, yeah, I did that, but now what? Um, it's a lot easier to be with myself thinking of those things. And so now it's just playing through that journey. So now it's okay, if I'm worried about this next phone call I have to make, I've probably played through that phone call or that meeting uh, every which way that you can possibly take it. If I say this, they say this. Then what? Shit. No, that's not going to work. If I say this, they say that, and oh, this might, yeah, that might work. I've already played that through in my head a billion ways before I even have the conversation. So like that's deep. That's the game of chess, though.
Well,
And that's
and it's not just our internal thoughts are huge, because again, we are the most important people we talk to. So you have to talk to yourself in a language that's positive. But we do that. We all do the replay, but we also let the outside world affect. And so you'll have somebody come up and say, "Oh, you're calling that person? Boy, get ready," and that'll totally
mm,
influence what happens
take you
with you
right
in
off
the.
the tracks. That's derailing you, just like you talked about earlier. That
Yep,
good.
yep. I used to, when I first started doing large events, and people would say, "Oh, you got these folks coming into this event and that are going to be in the crowd. They're going to be trouble." And then I would get there, and they were never trouble. As long as I would do what I was supposed to do and be at my best, they weren't trouble at all.
But what's amazing for those, and that's sales guys. This was something that opened my mind to really the whole concept in the game of sales. Was this whole one, and I forget, I learned it early enough that it stuck with me for a long time. But they gave an example of like this: you sold this person this TV for $1,000, and then you sold this and they think they got the best deal ever. You sold the same TV to this person for $700, and they think they got ripped off. Who got the better deal? And everybody always, again, especially I think I might have the first one. Whoever wants to be the first answer says, "Oh, the 700, 700." And no, it really, whoever got the best deal is who thinks they got the best deal. It is truly a mindset thing only,
Yeah,
and the thought of, and there's no changing it. Like there's nothing that could be said or done to change the person who paid 700 to think they didn't get ripped off. They're still thinking, well, that sneaky salesperson still got me, or whatever. They still have some, and it's, you're not changing it. Like it's never going. And the person who paid 1,000, and they're happier than can be. They're You're not going to tell them they didn't get the best deal either, because there are certain things and certain emotion that is just, that's sales really is just a transfer of emotion. When
so
people
for
figure that game out, that's
well, everybody makes their decisions on emotion, whether they want to admit it or not. We decide on emotion, we validate on logic, and a lot of times it's after the fact. But that salesperson in your illustration there, what's really required is this self awareness that we're talking about. they have to have that self-awareness and the reflective experience and the inner circle and all the things that lead to personal growth, so that they have the confidence to step out and give the best value, because price is what you pay, value is what you get. Give the best value to each and every person they work with, and that confident self-awareness can help you get to that point.
Yeah, and believing that one in your product or service. That was another amazingly powerful thing from Zig Ziglar that stuck with me forever. Again, he was my first in this whole journey of life and personal development and sales and all of that stuff. And probably a great first one. And Matthew McConaughey, he sounds just like him, especially as Buster Moon. Like he needs to be Zig Ziglar. Somebody make a movie of Zig, please, and make Matthew McConaughey the voice. I need it. He sounds just like him, and it's amazing. But Zig shares that story of with his friend who is struggling in sales. And again, if you guys are watching, if you own a business right now and your salespeople are the worst ever, and your sales team just can't sell anything, and all of these things, it's you, and it's your belief in whatever that's going down to them. But it really is just comes down to belief. And Zig Ziglar paints that picture perfectly when he tells the story of being with his friend who's struggling in sales. They're selling high end like cookware, pots, pans, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And he's
Door to
in
door.
he's in his kitchen, and he's looking around as his friends saying, "Oh my God, sales is so bad. I can't sell anything. And my wife needs to take my son to the orthodontist. He's got to have these teeth pulled, and I don't know how we're going to pay for this. And we got it this, and we got this." And Zig's looking around, and he looks at his friend, and he says, why don't you have our cookware? And he said, "Oh, come on, Zig. I just told you I can't pay this. I can't afford this. I can't do this. The wife needs this." And he said, he talks him into buying it. Long story short, talks him into buying it. Says, "I promise you, it's your belief in it. When you own it, you're going to believe it more." And obviously, like Zig says, you can't, if you sell planes, you can't buy a plane. But the point is, you have to believe in it. You have to truly believe in your product, your service, your business, your mission, your purpose, whatever it is. There has to be no doubts. And if that goes all the way down to your sales team is buying the product or believes in it the same, everybody's going to believe in it. And then there is no doubts. But that's the difference. You have to believe. You have to
Well,
believe.
and again, we'll bring it back around to awareness. Um, so you sat in last week. We've got our joint client that we're working with, and so you saw for a bit of how I start with a client. So I
Yeah.
use a curriculum-based coaching. It has three basic components, but the very first component is clarity. It's clarity, growth, leadership. But the reason we start with clarity is to help people build that awareness of self, awareness of strengths, weaknesses, values, principles, all the things that are going to guide us, so that what I want to help someone do is to become aware of more aware of who they really are and who they really want to become. And if we can figure that out, if we can get clarity around that awareness of this is who I really want to become and where I really want to go, well, then we can chart the course. Where we get caught, where we get hung up, especially if we're doing this ourselves, is we start charting the course before we really have that baseline awareness of what's really going to make me the happiest. And so we assume that it's going to be, I need $1 million, instead of, what I need is flexibility, time, family, whatever it could be. We have to spend that time, that hard time, reflection, thinking, asking the tough questions, answering the tough questions, getting feedback from people around us. And then once we have a good awareness, man, look out, because growth can really start to happen once we get in that good state of awareness.
Now, now, would you say the key to that and where you really see the transformation is once they're fully aware of themselves, but it's more you become aware of just yourself and how you block yourself. So, like the walls you constantly put up for yourself, you're like, you're doing that again. No, no, no. We got to stop that. Would you say that's where really the magic kind of happens and it clicks?
That's a huge part of it, and also the part of determining what habits, what belief systems that I'm carrying for whatever reason, which ones serve me now and which ones don't. Okay, well then let's chart a course for behavior change, habit change, because as Jack Canfield was the first I heard say it, but he said once you start to practice the habits of success, success itself will become a habit. And so we start looking, what are my habits that aren't serving me anymore? What are some things I can do? And so once I know what I'm up against, I can prescribe tools and strategies and things to help. And once we get little by little smart decisions made consistently over time, then it takes time. So it's a law. It's the law of gestation. You know, there's going to be a period of time from planting the seed to harvest. And so that's the hard part on any growth plan, whether it's physical, you're in the gym, or mental, you're working on this sort of thing. You're going to put a lot of work in, and you're going to think, man, this ain't working, because it's all happening underneath.
It's
But
the it's
trust
the
me,
it's
it's
the
working
overnight success, right? The overnight success that takes thousands of hours in the gym or on the
100%.
table or whatever. Yeah.
100%. And people will look at you and say, man, you just got lucky. They don't know the hours and the
No idea.
time and the heartache and all the things, because it's consistency over a period of time.
Mm. Ah, man. Yeah. Well, I think we did it, Jacqueline. Good. I think again, thank you, Jacqueline, for joining us. It was talking about fear. Fear has again. I guess we'll wrap up on fear and on that. But literally, fear was for me. I mean, you can if you talk to anybody who knows me from a kid, especially my parents, like I was afraid of everything and anything you could think of. Like the fact I still look back, and that was probably part of the awakening for me during that, the age of wisdom. We'll just call it now. But literally, it was it was looking back and being like, how did you why did you do sales? How did you end up in sales when you're scared to ask to get to the damn bathroom? Like you're afraid of what the answer might be to get to the bathroom. Uh, and I think that's where most of the people and where certain people like Gary V's of the world, like the Grant Cardones, like the ones who maybe come off a little bit harder. They have a harder edge because they know, like, in the end, that's the only way you get to this point is you gotta break through some hard shit, like,
Yeah.
and so it will make you hardened and tough, but like you don't have to actually take that with you. And so Gary Vee's done a lot better job, obviously, of building that with empathy and focusing on empathy and stuff. But you can still see
For
it
him,
come out.
I think the tough language is very natural. That is who he is. Some other folks will use that harsh
Sure.
language to try to wake us up, because it takes something to jar you and to make you pay attention. And so sometimes it's intentional. My read on Gary, though, is that that's who he is.
I agree. I agree, and yeah, it probably has a little bit to do with where he grew up and those kind of things too. But yeah, and his dad seems like he was quite a character. So yeah, his dad didn't seem like he held back
Well,
too many
well, and
punches.
with Jacqueline, I think maybe over dinner or something, hearing some of the stories that she didn't tell, that could be a quite interesting dinner as well, because there's you could feel underneath there were some things. It's like she was holding herself back. I could tell this story, but I'm not going to tell it, kind of a thing.
Oh, she has, and that's what I'll tell you. Again, that's what I love about the Chosen, Coach, is the way that they really paint the disciples. You can tell they were the roughest of the rough and had been through their journeys and their experiences, and they weren't, what people think that they were. But I think that's most that's what you have to go through to really kind of awaken to that. Sometimes is
So
that.
you mean they weren't born with those halos that a lot of the pictures show them with these days? That they weren't born that
Not,
way?
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It's quite the contrary. But yeah, it's quite eye opening if people pay attention to those sort of things. But again, yeah, Jacqueline, her story was just Amazing. And so, Jacqueline, thank you for being so raw, so real, and sharing that story. And Coach, I agree. Well, she has some stories. She's definitely lived life to the fullest. That's what I appreciated the most about, and can tell when I met her. And clearly, anybody who knows, I mean, if John Hewitt's telling me that I'm have crazy ideas, like that guy's done some crazy things. So he, clearly, I enjoy people with crazy ideas,
Well, and
who are big dreamers.
I just appreciate people that bring a positive energy. And pre-show, show, and post-show, there was just something positive about being around her, which that was really cool.
She is a press pro. I got to give a shout out to that too, guys. If you have never been a guest, and actually, while I'm giving this, I'll talk about next week's guest. So next week's guest, we actually have Lee Sheridan, local here. Met him from BNI actually, and so crazy enough, guys. If you want to know the power of BNI, we'll definitely get into a lot of that because Lee had shared with me. So we had met. He was visiting our group because when he started his business, he was actually in 3 different BNI groups. Now he's just in one himself, but he's looking to bring in some more business. So he's actually joining and looking to place somebody else in another group, to go back to 2 groups. So the power of BNI is more powerful than you think, y'all. Especially if you have a local business or service, you might want to look into it. Networking is very powerful. Getting to know the people around you, like-minded people on the same missions, the same journeys, you now can go on the same road, just maybe next to each other. Don't have to hold hands, but maybe next to each other, so you don't have to be
And
alone.
and writing the check and drinking the coffee is not going to cut it. You've got to get in and participate and follow the plan because it will work, but you got to work it.
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you can't just show up and expect your business is just gonna boom. You gotta really be there. And again, it's believing. That's back to the believing. You gotta believe in the power of it. But Lee will definitely share that. Again, I was excited to hear him say that because I hadn't met too many people here locally that were in multiple groups, but back home, I mean, when I started in BNI, I was working at a small. PK Wadsworth, like shout out guys, but local heating and cooling company, and they were in multiple groups. And when the owner had came to me, he's like, "Hey, we go to these meetings. Would you be interested?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, referrals? What? Oh, okay, yes, I'm in. Didn't even know what it was. I had no clue. To know 12 years later something, I was gonna really be involved in it. I would have never guessed that, but. Especially because I'm not that networker that goes and I'm not going to light up the room with, hey, hi, hey, and just talk to everybody. I kind of sit back in the corner and hope somebody, I guess my smile, I try to entice people with my smile. Come over and talk to me so I don't have to talk.
You do
But
have a good energy, but what I think we might need to bookmark this little point because maybe there's a future show where we can just delve into your mindset that will say yes to just about anything and then figure it out. Somebody says, "DJ, can you do this?" Yeah,
yeah,
and then you walk away and go, "What did I just agree to?" So there's got to be a show into that mindset.
listen, I would love to do a show on that because I think I have the answer to that. I think it has to do with I was blessed to be raised by parents who gave me this crazy idea that I could do anything. I had a dad who would tell me, "You're not going to pick up a hammer or this or that," although I have done everything he told me not to, and have used hammers and all of that very well. But wasn't supposed to, and was supposed to just focus on school and work smarter, not harder. And so they were very strong on that. So I think he came a lot from that, but and then just not being afraid to like once you fail enough, like that, then you just figure out. Yeah, I do want to have a show on this because I think it's the failing enough, so fail enough, but then it's then it becomes like almost a challenge of well, what could stop me, or what can actually be no? Because I think yeah, I want to have that show, Coach, because it even goes into the 2 words that I'd love to take out of everybody's vocabulary, and we'll end on this. So if I can help, and this will be the start of that show, Coach. 2 words. So Rich Dad did amazing with instead of can't, his rich dad said, instead of saying we can't afford this, we can't do this, say how. So instead of can't, say how, because there is a how. You just have to think about it, and it might be how in a lot of different ways, y'all. It might be a mix of people with other talents and skills and things that you don't know, along with skills that you might need to add, and all of these different things. But there's a how. I believe, and that's probably why I believe everything is possible. So there's a how. It's just finding the right pieces. But then it's instead of the why, so everybody talks about why. Simon Sinek is on your why being your big thing. I think we need to say why not? Like why not me? Why not us? Why not this? Why not? Why not? Like start asking that more. Okay, you're saying we can't, but why not? I can't. Why not? And ask how more. Ask why not, and be intentional with that, and find out where it gets you because it might get you some bumps and bruises, but man, it's fun. I'll tell you that. It's fun once you start asking more of how and why not. It
And
becomes a lot more fun of a game.
when you what you'll learn is the more you fail, you learn, you grow, you fail forward, and you just keep failing faster and going forward faster. And it takes those bumps and bruises to grow and to accomplish great things. So I think we got a good show on this one.
Yes. So again, change that from can't to how, why to why not. Why not you? Why not me? Why not us? Why
Why not
can't we?
now?
Why not now? Yes. Why not now? We'll end on that, Coach. Why not now? So again, everybody, if you like this, like and subscribe. Please share with friends, family, somebody who you feel again might have that feeling. You can see it on people. I promise. I seen it. I knew it on myself. I smelled that on me every time. Like, gonna need to find another place.
Hey, they
Uh,
don't have to like them. If you don't like them, share it with them too. They need it the most.
Yes, yes, please, but share it, share it. I don't want anybody to have that feeling of regret that they were made for something better than what they are. So follow Jackie's advice. Don't fall for the labels. Don't be stuck by the labels. You can create your own by your next moves. So your labels never stick until you decide to stick them on yourself. And so, again, Coach, this was awesome. This is getting to be so much fun. I can't wait for next week's guest, Lee Sheridan. You guys, the way they pay is amazing. Businesses out there, if you want to find a unique way to kind of up your game, especially if you're a service based business, don't miss next week's. How they pay per for ranking. I can't wait to get into that, and especially to hear Lee's kind of mindset on it. I heard one of his recruiters' mindsets on it because she was one who might be joining our group actually. But and her mindset was like, wow, you know what? That's powerful. There is a lot more power to paying per job, and paying per result. So start focusing on that and see where that gets you to. But until next week, guys, feed the good wolf.
Always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about